Good evening, kia ora whānau. I can see as everyone starts to jump on, I'll give myself a little bit of a slow introduction as we wait for people to jump on, because there's always a bit of a time delay between what I can see on this end and what happens on the other end. Here we go, our numbers are starting to come up. And Tony, I didn't tell you this before we go on, but the numbers, if you can see the numbers of lives, is completely incorrect. We've tested it over and over again. So they tell us lies about how many people are on the live. And when we started, because we were getting really depressed that there wasn't that many people showing up, and then we found out there was actually double of them on the live. Anyway, good evening, everybody. As you're starting to join, welcome along, and thank you once again for your kindness and your consideration to the fact that we had to change the evening this evening. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I hope you guys are too. I am just going to start bringing up some comments. Let us know that you are here. Love to hear from you all. But whilst you're doing that and perhaps typing in, please make sure that you have your tasting notes here ready to go. And of course, you've got your little space on the other side to be able to pop your actual notes as you're tasting it on there. What else do you need for this evening? Well, obviously, you're going to need your bottle of gin. Tonight we are tasting Ruin Distillery's The Valley, which I can't be more excited about. Kia ora, Jenny, nice to have you with us. And obviously you've got your little QR code on the back. So when you taste this gin, I'm sure you'll be saying, oh my goodness, I need to get some of that. And actually, we need to get some of it as well. So then we've got it in stock. But you can have it sent through to you from us once we get it into stock, which I'm sure won't be too far away. So what else do you need? A little bit of ice is what I've got, and a mixer of your choice. So I am going to live dangerously this evening, everybody, and I am going to try this with the pink grapefruit soda that we sent through into the box. So we're going to see. I'm a bit concerned that it might overwhelm it, but we're just going to see. I've actually got some water on hand as well, because I do love a good drop of water in my gin as well. So I'm going to have a little experiment tonight with it. Because I'm really enjoying, as we go into summer, that pink grapefruit flavour. So anyway, that's what you're going to need for this evening. And I would love to introduce you all to Tony from Ruin Distillery. It is lovely to have you with us this evening, Tony. And I know that there is a few of our members that are particularly excited about this gin, because your gin is a little elusive, I think, is what we've decided in the community. Yeah. It's a little hard to get and a little hard to find. So we're very delighted to have the gin in the box this evening and to be tasting it. So welcome, Tony. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, actually.
Yeah. So before we
an excuse to have a gin as well, actually. So
well, of course, yes, that's a great excuse, right? So before we jump into our tasting this evening, Tony, I think it would be really great just to let everybody know where you're situated, and because you're tucked away in a special little part of New Zealand, aren't you?
Yes, we are actually. Well, it's up at Riverstone Terraces essentially, but we're quite high up and overlooking one of the valleys out the back, which of and in itself is quite special actually, because the valley is Moonshine Valley, which because of its name, obviously they did used to illegally brew or distill alcohol up there as well. So it's it's quite funny actually. It's it adds to the character, I think, anyway. So
definitely. Wow, that's so great. And I'm detecting a little bit of an accent. Is that correct?
Yes. Manchester actually, or in fact, to be a little bit more precise actually, and where they do drink a lot of gin in the Rover's Return. So I'm actually from Coronation Street, Salford,
Wow.
I would actually love to see a bottle of Ruin on the bar in the Rovers. Actually, that would be quite funny.
Wouldn't that be the ultimate? That would
Oh,
be
would it
so
ever? Yeah.
great.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so how long have you been operating now, Tony? Because this is quite a new gin onto the market, isn't it?
It is quite new. Commercially, I suppose I've been distilling for a long time. Actually, I mean I've been in New Zealand since '84, but still, obviously, my accent was a lot worse when I first arrived, obviously, and my kids still take the mickey out of me and ask me to say bucket, which is yeah. Anyway, so I've been distilling a long time. Obviously, the legislation around distilling and home distilling, especially in New Zealand, is a little bit more relaxed than it is across anywhere else. And obviously, I did start off home brewing beer. I mean, beer in New Zealand, when we first got here, was a little bit underwhelming, shall we say? and 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 my
Particularly for the British
association with
palate, I believe.
sorry.
Particularly for the British palate, I believe.
Yeah. And the warm beer is a bit of a myth actually. So I mean, think things like Camera and the Campaign for Real Ale and those kind of organisations, even in the UK, stood up. But my father was a brewer at Whitbread's Breweries, which incidentally actually does supply the real beer for the Rovers' return. So crazy links. Anyway, and so I got to New Zealand and continued that. But I mean, it became a little bit of a pain washing the bottles and all that good stuff. And then the beer actually started to take off, and we got some really good quality beer. But at the same time, I was experimenting and started to distill alcohol as well because it was perfectly legal to do so. And I've probably been through 6 different kind of stills essentially, and then perfecting gins especially, and making purer and purer alcohol, and because obviously you don't need to barrel age it or anything like that, just let the botanicals mature a little bit for a week or two. That became the spirit of choice essentially, and family and friends were demanding that as my little craft got better and better, that I do it commercially, because I mean I was essentially giving it away, and they said it's just too good to be given away actually. And with the proliferation of craft gins in New Zealand and around the world essentially as well, I decided to go commercial, and there was an employment opportunity that gave me the time and space to do that. And so I investigated it, did a little bit of research, and yeah, as well as perfecting the flavors, which we've got in the valley. I mean, so as I said, the mechanical side of the shop is essentially mine, but my wife is responsible for the flavors and the botanicals that are uh, in the gin itself. So yeah, probably about 12, no, it'd be less than that, probably about 10 months ago I started investigating it seriously, and then I looked at the different ways that it could be produced, what how we would actually like to do it. And uh, I mean, obviously you guys will be aware that there's a multiple different ways that you can actually flavor your gin, distill it, all that good stuff. What the basic ingredients were that we would require to get it to the a really good consistent commercial level as well. And then of course all the legislation, all that kind of stuff. So about 10 months we've been going, and but we've run into a few obstacles on the way, and they've been more around supply chain issues, obviously with COVID and all that kind of stuff, and little bits and pieces. But in terms of the legislation and the requirements from customs and MB and local government, it's been absolutely fantastic. You would not believe it. So the local council
Yeah, I
here
wouldn't believe it. You're right.
have provided me with so much support and guidance, and getting my licensing in terms of custom controlled area,
Yeah.
obviously, and the bar manager's license and the remote seller's license. It was all very good as well, actually. So I did all the exams and all that kind of stuff, did the course and sailed through. So yeah, I've got qualifications
You're
now
ready
that I
to
didn't.
go.
Yeah, it's all crazy.
Fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
shall we have a little taste of this wonderful gin? I must admit I'm eager. And I'm going to pour myself a little sipper, so then we can have a little sample to start off with. So Tony, perhaps just talk us through what are we. Oh, it has the most divine nose. So everybody, when we were bottling this one, there were people coming from far and wide, really. Jenny's already started. Good on you, Jenny. And I know. I was like, oh, I've got to get onto the tasting because otherwise people will be like already drunk it before they get a chance. But on the nose, this is just exquisite. Who else is thinking that? The nose of this gin is just one of the most delicious noses I think I've smelt. So, what are we getting there, Tony, on the nose?
Well, so one of the things that I wanted to do actually is pay homage to the actual gin itself, actually, and the history of gin and where it comes from. I'm 20 odd years in the military myself, and gin for me is actually quite a military drink. The history of it coming back across from Holland, and I actually think it was the Grenadier Guards that brought it back when they were essentially that's the first of foot, one of the senior regiment in the British Army. Brought it back after essentially being mercenaries for the Dutch, and then it took off and proliferated in London and became Mother's Ruin and all that kind of stuff, and hence the name Ruin, which is a bit of homage to Mother's Ruin.
Yeah, a bit of a play on.
Yeah. But so we styled it on a London dry gin, obviously, so it's very very juniper forward as well, and oh, you're frozen there actually. I don't know if I'm still coming through. Oh,
Sorry about that. Can you see me again?
Yeah, I can see you again. Yeah. So obviously, and looking at the definitions, especially in the EU and the UK itself, for what defines gin and what it should be. So I mean, obviously, very very juniper forward in the first instance, made from a grain base. So we distill our own spirit from corn essentially. So we still try and keep, well, we could go to the grain, but I mean, so corn is good, produces a really good starch, very very clean clear alcohol, which is what I wanted to do. And so that in itself, so we produce an alcohol that's about 93% pure on a stripping run, and then we that's through a reflux still as well, and then into a 4-inch 6-plate flute still, and it's vapor infused as well. So it is getting the purest alcohol and then vapor infusion into the basket. So it's pure alcohol and then concentrating on the botanicals that are in it. So other styles of distilling, like maceration and all that kind of stuff, I don't think that does pay homage to the actual base spirit as well. So in the copper top alembic stills, they're, I think, more for your bourbons and your darker spirits anyway, where you want to maintain and capture some of the flavors that you've invested into producing the spirit, like the peat smoke in across the grain in whiskies, that kind of thing. So that doesn't strip that kind of flavor out. So that's not making what I would consider a pure spirit. And a lot of distilleries, gin distilleries in New Zealand, buy their own spirit in as well. Very, very, very pure. So that's what we do in the first instance. So that allows us then to really concentrate on the botanicals. So hopefully, the first thing you should be getting, obviously, is the juniper forwardness of it, and we're trying to keep to that definition of a London dry gin with some New Zealand botanicals in it as well. Obviously, why would we not want to put some of the gorgeous botanicals of New Zealand in it? So obviously the I'll just bring up my little list here actually. So most of them are listed on the bottle. I'm not shy about or protective overly of the list, but the quantities is the secret. Obviously, that's
Exactly, yeah. That's
and, and,
why
and
I always think, when a distiller's like, oh, I couldn't possibly tell you what's in the gin. I'm like, well, nobody would be able to replicate it even if you did,
exactly, yeah. So
So
I
somebody
mean,
is saying, Tony, that they're getting citrus smell and they get aniseed licorice as well on the nose.
yes,
So
that's all
they've
awesome.
nailed it, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
Whoever
Yes,
that someone is, well done.
that is very much it. So obviously there's a juniper. So another thing as well. I mean, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11 botanicals in this anymore, and you just can't tell anyway. It just becomes too confusing for the palate. So there's juniper, coriander, angelica, licorice root, which I think gives that a little bit of sweetness actually. The fennel seed, orange and lemon, black pepper for just that little bit of a kick. Orris, cassia, and kawa again, which complement the black pepper as well.
Yeah.
I think kawa as a botanical is absolutely fantastic. It grows prolific, and that's why it's called the valley actually. So the kawa and the fennel are foraged locally off the Hutt River down here.
Yeah, which is amazing. So you literally you've got as local as you could possibly get, like literally, right at your doorstep.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we've got somebody saying that they are loving the taste, slightly sweet with a nice long aftertaste. Isn't it just? It's got a beautiful sweetness. Sorry, I couldn't stand it. I had to taste it after smelling it. But yeah, it's got a beautiful, beautiful sweetness, but so smooth. And do you put that smoothness, Tony, down to the base spirit? Do you think
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so. So that is key for me actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and I am getting that real cleanness that you talk about as well. Like there is it's almost quite fresh on the palate. And the mouthfeel is quite clean as well. Anyone else getting that? I think this, I think you've done a great job at paying homage to the underlying base spirit because, this is one of those gins that you could quite happily, couldn't you, everyone, sit there and just sip away at it, no mixer required. It's very smooth and very drinkable. So yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you about the valley and the fennel. So the fennel's definitely coming through as well, and it kind of supports the sweetness of the licorice as well, doesn't it?
Yes.
The fennel's got a bit of a sweet flavour to it as well, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. I mean, and one of the other things as well. I mean, it took us quite a few iterations to get through to. I mean, obviously, you guys understand the louching or the ouzo effect that can happen with gin as well.
No, I have not heard this. Tell me.
Oh, okay. So with most of the botanicals being oil bearing essentially, so it is the oils out of the botanicals that you put in there. You can oversaturate the alcohol in the first instance. So ouzo, for example, when you mix it with water, it goes milky white.
Yeah.
So that is actually called louching, and there's nothing wrong with that in terms of taste or flavor, but it doesn't look good. So people don't like that. People want the beer to be the gin.
Wrong show, Tony, wrong show.
I was actually thinking of the hazes when I was talking about beer, because that's exactly the same argument. So the hazes are brewed the way that beer used to be, so you can still see some of the ingredients in the beer as well before it got filtered out to make a clear beer. And so that's becoming. And then there's a few New Zealand gins that actually do advertise that their gin will louch. And this is what happens when the oils can't be suspended in the alcohol anymore, and it just releases them out of suspension essentially. So it doesn't affect the taste, it doesn't do anything like that. But I mean, so to get that perfect balance so that you can make a Tom Collins glass of gin and tonic, for example, and still keep it clear, is something that we aim for as well. So it's maximum payload of botanicals and the right balance of those as well into a glass with tonic, so that it will still look clean, clear, and fresh, with the beads of condensation on the side, and provide that right refreshing drink on a hot summer's day, which is hopefully the weather that we're coming into.
Yeah, exactly. We're definitely getting into those, aren't we? I'd be interested to hear what the other members are thinking as well. But for me, it doesn't bother me if it clouds up when you add a mixer to it.
No.
I do just put it down to the fact that, well, it's got a lot of oils in it, and that's what's happening. Because there is definitely
that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely some gins on the market that do that. They'll cloud up. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that you're constantly trying to balance it for essentially some cosmetic reasons, right?
Well, it's not just it is cosmetic as well, to a certain extent as well. But I mean, it is essentially keeping that the balance of the botanicals perfectly right as well. So it's at 42%. We could have gone a little bit higher, I suppose, but I mean, I still want to keep it drinkable without so it allow you to drink it exactly as you are, neat, just on ice, without providing any alcohol burn as well. I mean, 42% is probably about as high as I would want to go, really.
Yeah.
Without a mixer, of course, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And so what is your recommendation? I've been drinking it. I always like to try my gins straight at room temperature first of all, and then I'll go to ice. But I often find that I actually prefer them at room temperature than on ice. What's your preference with this one, Tony?
Well, I actually just like it as a gin and tonic with citrus fruit, either lemon or lime, or both actually in it, which is exactly what I've got now, and just one chunk of ice essentially in a Tom Collins glass, a tall straight glass essentially. So yeah.
Beautiful way
nothing
to drink
too
it, right?
exactly. I mean, it's it's just keeping it as traditional and starting at that base. Standard essentially is what I'm looking for. Yeah.
So we've got somebody, this might be Nikki, just judging by the Mediterranean. I've just added my favorite Fever Tree Mediterranean, and I think it's quite lovely. So that was the one that I recommended that people have it with, was the Mediterranean. It just hit all the right notes in the gin. Not too milky at all. Very, very tasty though. Absolutely. It is so tasty. Good to hear that it's tasty with the Mediterranean as well. Jenny's saying she got a very floral note that was defined as my nose is, right? Okay. And is there florals in there? There isn't really, is there?
No, not really. But I mean, some of the
nose has changed so dramatically by adding ice. I can't believe that. Oh my goodness, the licorice is coming through super strong, and I'm getting a lot more of the spices as well. But wow, that's really brought out the licorice, and that smoothness. I love, Tony, I apologize in advance because I am the world's worst describer of tastes and smells because I confuse the whole lot together. But and this one's going to be a real cracker. So you know how licorice has a smooth molasses smell, and to me it's a smooth smell. It smells like rolling valleys of molasses, right?
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting off this now.
Well, it does provide these sweetness. Nothing like black licorice at all.
Oh yeah. Oh wow, now I'm torn. Who else did the same as me? And had it at room temperature and ice, because I'm torn as to which way I like it. That's really lovely. Oh, that's really hard to pick. And normally I would lean towards room temperature, but that's really lovely. Yum. Okay, what else have we got here? Jenny's saying, I took your lead, Sarah, and went with the pink grapefruit soda, but I find that it overpowers the gin. Now, this is a thing with the pink grapefruit soda. You have to be really careful about it. I often will mix some, like almost a half and half mix. I'll do pink grapefruit soda to get that, because it's got a really lovely pink grapefruit flavor to it, but I don't want a lot of it. So I'll mix it with a bit of soda water or a bit of straight water, depending on how I'm feeling. So just to water down a little bit of that pink grapefruit soda. So that might be the fix for you, Jenny. Add a little drop of water in there, and you might find that it's good. Nikki's saying, I found her out. I found her out because I knew it was her with the Mediterranean. I just knew. All right. Should
have done the med.
Should have done the med, says Jenny. I did definitely leaned towards the ice. Yeah. I don't know. Because I do find that with the ice, I find that it drops away some of those oils of the citrus, and I really enjoy that in my gin. And, like it gives it that beautiful round sort of mouth feel as well. Whereas when you have the ice, I don't know what's going on there, Tony. Does it cut through that those oils?
So I suppose it's like a single malt tasting, actually, when you just drop a couple of drops of water onto a single malt. When you're tasting it as well, you taste it neat, a couple of drops, and that's exactly what it does. It just allows some of the other botanical flavors to come through. It does release them, yeah, and especially on the nose as well. And nose is probably, it's a 50-50 split, or probably more on the nose than just taste as well, to how you experience it. But the mouth feel, like, again, is something that we've actually strived for as well. It's very important. I don't want that harshness or that bitterness that some gins can leave you with, especially the big commercial ones, if you know what I mean. So I'm not being disparaging about them, but that mouth feel as well is just as an important part of the experience of drinking it as the flavors on the nose as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, and I don't know what all our other members are saying, but that's actually become more important to me as we've gone on through this journey. And as we try different gins, I find that that's what gives the ones that I really like the edge, is those ones that have just that beautiful mouthfeel. And it's like a whole experience, it's a whole body experience. There's, there's the feel, and there's the smell, the aroma, and then there's the taste as well. And yeah, all right, I'm going in for some pink grapefruit soda mix, and I'm going to do I'm going to go light on my pink grapefruit soda, like a little splash, and then I'm going to top up with a little bit of water. So I'll just show you on screen so this is the color I've diluted it down to, for those of you who are just looking to experiment with this pink grapefruit soda. So it's very light blush is what I'd describe it as. And yeah, I just find then it's not going to overpower it too much. But those of you, easy on the soda, Sarah. Yeah, we won't. I will go easy. Totally. Yeah. So lots of people, Tony, are saying, so Jenny said that she leaned towards it with ice. Somebody else said they liked it with ice. And then someone else is saying, I thought it was lovely with the ice. It really brought out the licorice for me. All right, who's having it with what? Now that we're at mixer stage, Tony, what would you recommend to us to drink it with?
I mean, so I really prefer it with just a plain, a good quality tonic. One of my favourite ways actually is to drop a little blob of marmalade in the bottom, and that changes the dynamic completely actually. So
Wow,
especially
marmalade. That'd be
yes,
so
the
interesting.
the roses navel orange marmalade, and what happens actually is you make it in a tall glass, probably 4-to-1
Hmm.
ratio of your tonic to the gin, a couple of slices of citrus, either lemon or lime, and then as you slowly get, or fast, or depending where you are in the day, get down your glass, the sweetness of the marmalade comes out because it stays as a little blob on the bottom of the glass, and it's quite another surprising taste. It's almost like a marmalade depth charge, you know. So yeah, I quite like that actually. That's very
I
good.
love that idea.
Mm,
That's brilliant.
mm,
I would never have thought to do that actually.
mm.
But
And
it
that,
makes perfect sense when you think
yeah,
about it.
and that complements the rest of the citrus flavour that
Yeah.
comes out in the gin as well. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. So report back on my pink grapefruit experiment. This is done really nicely, but I think I've softened it enough. So I have gone really light on the pink grapefruit, and what it's done is it's just added a little bit of a sweet citrus element to it, which is just holding its own really nicely against the gin. I think it would make a really nice kind of cocktailish type drink on a cold, on a hot, not you want it cold,
Yeah.
on a hot afternoon or evening. I think it would be really, that would be really lovely. Um, but I am thinking that because obviously I tasted it with the Mediterranean originally, I think I'd go Mediterranean over this. I think this is really nice, but Mediterranean just brings it out that much more.
Mm.
So there are a few people drinking it with Mediterranean. Anyone tried it with straight soda? And you can be totally honest if you're like, no, I like it just straight and I'm not even going to mix it with anything, because I know that I was pretty much there. I was like, doesn't need anything. What are other people doing? Jenny says she's really down for the marmalade. She thinks that's a great idea. So thank you for that one, Tony.
It's
Yeah.
definitely worth a try.
Well, lovely, lovely. So local botanicals that are in here. We've got the fennel and the
Kawa kawa.
kawa just from
Yeah.
the valley, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then where
Yep.
are you sourcing your other botanicals from?
From a crew in the Hawke's Bay. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that's made this a little bit rare actually. I mean, I don't know if you guys are aware, but there is actually a worldwide shortage of
Of juniper.
juniper.
Yeah.
Yes.
This could be
So
serious for us all, right?
yeah. Luckily, I went round and sourced every single little bit of juniper I could find actually, and it's good for quite a few years, stored in uh, a solid, robust, dark ammo case actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the rest of it, so I tried to keep everything in source in New Zealand. So even the stuff that comes from overseas, some of the other botanicals come through a crew in the Hawke's Bay.
Mm-hmm.
All my glass bottles came from a local supplier in Lower Hutt there, but they dried up actually quite seriously, and that's one of the reasons why we got a little bit short on supply because of the bottle shortage. So I could
Mm.
only supply my local crews down here actually. But hopefully, I've got a couple of pallets that should be arriving tomorrow.
Oh,
So
wow. That's
yeah.
soon.
Yes, yes. So it's good timing in terms of Christmas and that good thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully, fingers crossed. I mean, that's what they promised me. So I've been through watching it bob across the ocean in a container, and then yeah, finally get
And
here as well.
so many of the distillers have reported having issues with bottles and having to change their bottles because they couldn't source the same bottles and all sorts of
Yeah,
things. So people have really had real challenges. You wouldn't be the first one, that's for sure.
No, but I wanted to stay true to that shape of bottle that I've got there, which is the Oslo bottle, because again, that is the Scandinavian, which is the source of original source of gin as well. So it all ties into the story a little bit.
Yeah.
The story between about the two ravens on the front of it as well. I mean, that's just both myself and my wife were ex-military as well, so those are Odin's ravens. So,
okay.
But with a coral, and they're actually designed in the UK as well. So, but with the coral on the wings and what have you as well. So that's the New Zealand flavour for it. So that's what they represent. It's just a little quiet nod to it as well.
I love how much, this is one of the things I enjoy the most about when we get to go on live with you wonderful people who make these beautiful gins, is we get to hear the story behind all of these things. Like why are there birds on the front of your gin? Like all of those sorts of things is and the level of thought that you put into all of those pieces. And it really does. It shines through in people's gin. You can tell how much thought they have put through, into it. And I'm just gonna try it with just a little drop of water. I'm having a right experiment here tonight, Tony.
Very good.
This is what I love about gin, though, right? Because we can try so many different ways of drinking gin. There just really is, and it's really fabulous to be able to try all the different ways. And if Marcel was on the call, which I don't believe he is, because I think our timing is really off for him in Australia, he would be very proud of me having it with just some water, because he says that opens it up. Oh, hang on a minute. I didn't know this about you, Jenny. Okay, somebody's asking, how else might you use this gin in cooking and cocktails? Any ideas? Well, I wouldn't put it in cooking myself, because I'm why would you waste this beautiful gin in cooking? But a cocktail, yep.
I mean, it's just let your imagination fly. Excuse me, with a cocktail. So what ones aren't going to be too overpowering with the mixer. So I have tried it with the orange. Is it
Negroni.
The orange? Yeah. Oh no, not making Negroni. The Fever Tree orange.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's just too much. It just swallows the gin completely, and that defeats the effort that goes into the botanical payload as well. So it's it's getting those fine balances. Yeah. And in terms of cooking, I don't think I've ever gin chocolate I've heard of, but not.
I tell you what,
cooking.
I would try actually, everybody. And I'm struggling to think which book it was in. I'm going to say it was 2 months ago, I think, and that is the gin infused salmon. I think this would be beautiful.
Oh, that's not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah, I'll send you the recipe, Tony. It's
lovely. Yes, is that sous vide?
Yeah. No, not sous vide. Sorry, it's cured in the gin.
Okay. But that's just given me another good idea, actually, because half of the kit that I've got here you can sous vide cook in it as well. So if you drizzled gin on a piece of salmon and then sealed it,
that would be amazing.
Yeah, you wouldn't lose the alcohol, or it wouldn't come out in the cook. So you've just given me an idea. I might have to try that, actually. So
please report back on that one. Far out. Okay, so Jenny she's got a couple of juniper plants. I did not know this, Jenny. I live and hope my 2 juniper plants grow into big, healthy trees to produce berries. Jury is still out on if they will or not. Well, for all of those who know me, and many of you know me well enough now, that there is no hope if there was ever a plant at my house that it's going to live. So, Jenny, I hope that you have a greener finger than I do. That's for sure.
Oh, in fact,
So Jenny's saying that she's really happy to test that salmon if you want to send some her way. She's really happy to do that. Yeah.
Mm.
And then somebody else is saying, yeah, the salmon sounds yummy. So for those of you who haven't tried that, I think it was a lime and gin cured salmon that we put in the tasting notes a couple of months back into the tasting booklet. That is really lovely, but I would take out the lime myself and I'd just use the gin for this, with this gin. Because I think what you get is you get that lovely fennel coming through as well, which would just be amazing. And then if you got some, see, now I'm getting excited. If you got some little bits of fennel and actually sprinkled that over the top,
yeah,
be wow, be amazing. Far out.
So talking of citrus, I forgot to mention actually. So there's a little fruit which is like a cross between a lime and a tangerine, a rangpur. You may have heard of rangpur gin as well. So it's so this thing actually, these little things grow quite well in New Zealand. In fact, in the valley down here as well. So we've got a friend who has got a bush in his back garden, and he gave us a few. We put it in the gin, and it's like, oh my god, that is brilliant, beautiful. And there's a fellow who actually grows the plants down here, and they grow really quite easily. And it's coming up to the season where you can actually propagate from them at the moment. So we've got a few on order. And so these are quite easy to grow, and they're absolutely superb. Rangpur, they're called. I think it's there's certainly a big commercial distillery that has a Rangpur flavored gin.
Was that Tanqueray that
yes,
did?
Tanqueray, it is.
Yeah, that did a Rangpur. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
And that's what it is.
Oh wow! And so, what did you say it was? A cross between a tangerine and
a lime.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's really got that really nice, deep citrus kick about it as well.
That would be delicious.
It's actually quite bitter if you taste it on your own. You couldn't peel it and eat it like a tangerine, but in gin, it's absolutely gorgeous.
So we're going to see something like that maybe coming out.
I don't know that I would do that. As I say, I want to stay true to gin itself. I do have another expression actually, but I wouldn't make a flavored gin like that. I think that's a step too far. You know, I'm a little bit traditional in that sense. Yeah.
So you were saying that you do have a second, and I love your terminology, a second expression of the gin. Yes.
Yeah, which we've called the courage, and obviously you guys don't have any of that actually, but this called the courage for Dutch courage, obviously, and that's another hat tip. But being in the Hutt Valley and Trentham in particular, and we're both ex-military. In fact, both our families are hugely associated with military as well. Plus the First and Second World Wars of all the Kiwi troops that went through Trentham, and the fact that we overlooked the place essentially. We built this gin around botanicals that pay homage to that as well. So it's got rosemary and kaffir lime leaves, cardamom, and a few other little bits and pieces as well. Still some of the traditional stuff: white pepper, kaffir lime leaves, fennel, bay leaves as well. So bay leaves, rosemary, and kaffir lime leaves in particular, they represent. And the fennel seeds as well, which are still in there, which were chewed by soldiers before they went into battle, right from the Roman times. The rosemary, which is remembrance, and bay leaves for valor. So that's all what's represented in the courage. And actually, being so, I've still got quite a few military connections, and the New Zealand Defence Forces are quaffing that quite a lot at the moment, actually. So it's proven to be quite successful. That tends to be a little bit more stronger, believe it or not. There's two. So that out of these two expressions, women tend to prefer the Valley, and men prefer the Courage. It's probably a little bit stronger taste, so it's quite strange the way we're finding that. But anyway, I won't talk too much about that. It's the Valley that we're here to talk about this evening.
Experiment with that one. Maybe we can twist around to have that one in a box sometime soon.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that for you. I mean, if it's
we'd love so much that, enjoyment. Wouldn't we, everyone? But so hang on, I picked up on something that you said. They used to chew fennel seeds before they went into battle. Why?
Yeah. I don't know. It's I don't know why.
They had fresh breath. I don't know.
You don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to breathe. Badly on your enemy. I don't know. I don't know if it had some.
Maybe it bolstered them on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of chat about going on in our comments here about Jenny's juniper trees, and we're all very hopeful that she gets to fruit them. So Jenny says, I believe you need 2. So she's hoping she's got 1 male and 1 female to get the fruit, but she's going to keep us posted. Good. I'm very happy about that. Thank you, Jenny. Who's this? Awesome. Thanks. Very interesting. Very interested how it goes. Must keep my eyes peeled for them in the plant nurseries. Yes, we're all concerned about Jenny's juniper plants. And then maybe, Tony, she could solve your juniper shortage issue. That would be great. Jenny, can you do that? Like, no pressure or anything, but hey, we've got a juniper shortage. We may run out of gin, people. We don't want to have that happen. All right. Somebody is saying, really enjoying this gin. It's really lovely. And I totally agree with you. So I have to say, as my experiment comes to a conclusion this evening, that the winner for me is a little drop of water. That is the winner. So because I don't know about everybody else, but when I drink it straight, I get a little bit concerned that I'm going to drink way too much. And, you've seen me after 50 mils, so you can imagine if it gets worse, I can tell you that. So I like to make sure that I'm still mixing my gin, but I am finding with the water, it is really, really stunning. So if you haven't tried it with water and you've still got some left and it hasn't evaporated, as Cordula would say, please try it with a little drop of water. You only need a tiny drop of the water, and it will just really open up the gin and really release some of those flavors. I'm finding it absolutely delightful. No ice in it, because I do still like to get those citrus oils coming through. So I'm just finding that stunning. The nose on it is beautiful. It's going to be my favorite. Really nice drop, even with a little too much grapefruit soda. Yeah, see, it still held the grapefruit soda, didn't it? But I agree, the grapefruit soda can overpower it. My favourite was the water, and would be keen on a Mediterranean tonic next time. Yeah, definitely. It's funny, when we're tasting and we're trying to line up what goes with what and what's going to go in the box with the mixes. And Tony, I'm sure you would have done the same thing, wouldn't you, with trying all the mixes alongside your gin, and you just hit sometimes, don't you, that it just sings. It's just this amazing marriage. And Mediterranean tonic, even though I wish it was a New Zealand brand, the Fever Tree, I really do think that whatever they've put in that tonic, they've got it light enough that it still lets the gin be really, really present, but just enough of a hint of some, little senses of flavor that come through that really boost the gin and do make it sing. So yeah, Mediterranean tonic is a really nice one with this gin. It was the one that I selected to go with this gin, and I just think it's lovely. But I did think I'd try it with the pink grapefruit, because I'm really favouring the pink grapefruit at the moment as we're coming into summer. It's a beautiful flavour on its own, and then often it makes the gin really, really sing. But I tell you, for me tonight, the winner is straight water, which is unusual for me, but obviously that gin is so good, Tony, that it just holds its own. Holds its
Thank you.
own with some water. What's other
Nice.
people thinking? They've all got I think we've had several people with the Mediterranean tonic. Jenny, I appreciate that you went there with me on the grapefruit. But yeah, absolutely. Tony, what else have you got in the pipeline? What are you thinking of doing? Any mixes? You're just going to stick with the two that you've got and really get those ones pumping? What's the
no? So we're going to stick with the two that we've got, actually, because one of the issues that I've got, believe it or not, even though we're not going to get into competition with the Vicar's Son, for example, but their distillery is 8 meters by 8 meters, so ours is 4 meters squared. So it is really, really small. So I only make it in batches of 19 bottles at a time.
Yeah.
So I mean, it really is the epitome of handcrafted, and yeah, it's the way that, I mean, even though you said it was rare to get hold of, I mean, that's just been a little bit of a supply issue with the bottles, and but I like to keep it like that anyway, if you know what I mean. Not to be, I don't want it to become a full crazy, over the top thing that takes over, you know. So I think that's where the some of the other distilleries have had problems, especially around where they're located and some of the stuff that they've got to do. I mean, Wild Kiwi is just down the road, and spoke to Russ. He had some major problems getting certified because of the amount of alcohol and the fire issues that it can cause. The guys at Denzian down in Wellington City had to build a fireproof room around there still that would withstand burning for up to 2 hours before it broke out, you know. So I mean, all this kind of compliance and the extra expense that goes on top, it makes it, I wouldn't, yeah, it can get a little bit prohibitive, if you know what I mean. So it's like, keep it simple, keep it pure, keep it, you know, tied to its roots of just being a stage above moonshine, and but still paying homage to its roots and its purity. That's the kind of thing that we want to embody in the gin, you know, with the backstories, the bottle, the design, the botanicals that are in it, you know. And I mean, if you want to dig deeper, it's something there. It's not just a commercial spirit that is just there for the consumption on a Friday night, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, very much so. And you know, I don't know about everybody else. Well, Jenny's saying that she really likes that theory, absolutely, and that line of thinking. But I'm exactly the same. And I think, you know, like you can really tell when you're drinking the gin that there's been a lot of love and care put into this, and it really shows through in the glass, doesn't it, everyone? So you know, like, yeah, thank you for keeping true to the craft and bringing us this beautiful gin. So people, I have just put it so then you can purchase the gin on the site. It will be on back order because I still have to get some stock from Tony. Full transparency. Hopefully Tony's bottles arrive tomorrow and he can ship us some stock. That would be great.
Yes, so I do actually have stock to put into the bottles. My labeling machine is set up there; it's all ready to go.
It's all ready to go, everyone.
Yeah.
We just need the bottles. Yeah. Just a small little deliver. But yeah, so we will make sure that we have that in our stock. And you know, this has been a delightful gin too. I got it's not the short straw, it's the long straw I got tonight doing this one, because as I say, when we were bottling this one, everyone was like, wow, what is that? That's really, really good. That smells amazing. And I was like, yes, can't wait to be able to do the tasting for this one. So it's been great. Any last questions for Tony as we wrap up this evening's tasting. Anyone got any last questions? We'll wait for a little bit, Tony, because there's always a delay,
delay.
For the comments to come back through. But I'm kind of rattling in my brain. I'm going through, have we covered the main bases? And I think we have, because our members are always really interested to understand what base spirit you're using, how your process is as far as distillation. I'm really interested to hear from you, Tony, that you've chosen to go vapor infused for all of your botanicals. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's quite an art, isn't it? The vapor infusion.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people opt for maceration because, I don't know, reading between the lines, it's kind of a bit easier. You can control it a little bit better.
You can, so this is a funny story. So controlling it. So one of the things obviously is getting the botanical payload perfectly right, and that is obviously weighing it right down to the 0.1 of a gram or even 0.01 of a gram, and I was searching for ages and ages to think how I can do. I can't do it on kitchen scales because they're just not accurate enough. Where can I get some scales that are accurate enough to actually do that? And then my wife just had the idea, said drug scales. so believe it or believe it not, on the main street in Upper Hutt, of all places, there's a vape shop that actually sells them.
No way.
Yes. So we were looking on the internet, obviously, and there were thousands and thousands of dollars to get these commercial scales that would actually weigh down to that level of accuracy. And sure enough, I walked down the road, $40 for a little set of scales, and they are as accurate as anything. Yeah.
From the vape shop.
Yeah, from the vape shop. My wife Jackie was in there saying, "They're for botanicals, honestly."
Yeah, we're weighing botanicals.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, so is everyone else. Yep.
Exactly. Not that that's a reflection on by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
But yeah, dear me. I'm
Oh,
sure you can get them in any vape shop in any city. Yeah.
So I mean, you'd be unusual in that, wouldn't you? Doing all of your botanicals vapor infused.
Yeah, I don't think there's many actually do that. So most of the stills that I've seen set up in New Zealand, you do use that. So they've got the jacketed stills which allow for that maceration. Obviously, because I've just got a 100 litre boiler on the bottom, and I've got my elements exposed in it, which is fine because it's not going to burn or touch any of the botanicals, which is the issue that you can get with not having that. So my botanicals are actually stored dry in the the basket right at the very top, and I think that's the best way. Because in fact it's quite amazing when the spirit first comes out, you start getting the heads and the body and the tail, the difference in the flavor of the botanicals as it releases them. So each of the botanicals that are in there release at different temperatures as well, and the temperature slowly goes up as well. So I've got it all monitored, obviously, within certain ranges to match the output as well. But the actual profile of the gin as it's being produced changes throughout the run. So it's yeah.
I mean, it really is such an art, isn't it? Just that working out where's the end of the heads, where am I now in the body of it, and how do I cut, when do I cut it for the tails?
Yeah.
That is a huge art. And the fact that you're doing that all with vapor infused is, hats off to you. That's amazing. All right, let's just see what everyone's been saying. So somebody said, no questions, only a big thank you. It's a lovely gin. Yes, I totally agree. Our friend Jenny, she says, thanks, Tony. It's been really good to hear directly from you, your philosophy and what inspired this gin. Tasty drop. We'll be putting my order in shortly. Nice one, Jenny. Good.
Nice.
Good to hear.
Thank you.
Good to hear. Oh, and she's got a little tailor, but Upper Hutt has the good scales.
It's also got the round pour as well.
Oh, yes. So, yeah. And I'm so surprised because I really thought that was just an overseas thing. So
No. I'll send you the details too. Actually, so there is a guy that produces them. He's local, but I don't want to send his details out without his permission, if you know what I mean. So I should have thought of that actually. So it's a bit remiss of me. And I'm sure it'd be quite high. And they are absolutely superb. And they're a really attractive little bush, and they're prodigious producers of the fruit as well. So. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Maybe I could try my hand at trying to grow one of them. I've managed to grow a lemon tree. That is my total sum of everything.
Well, I would imagine it'd be pretty similar actually. So.
Okay, so there might be hope for me. But I say that I don't know that the lemon tree is going to fruit this year. But anyway, we hope. We live in hope that it will. All right. Well, if there's no further questions, it sounds like you have satisfied everybody's questions tonight, Tony, which has been great. That either speaks to my ability as an interviewer or the fact that you just said all the things that everybody needed to say. So I would say it's probably the latter rather than the former. But it has been an absolute joy to meet you and meet one of the makers behind this fabulous gin. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this evening. And, thank you for making this beautiful, beautiful drop. I don't know about everybody else, but this is, it's a real highlight for me. Like I say, when we were bottling it, I could smell it. It was delicious. I couldn't wait to taste it. And I was so not disappointed. It was absolutely beautiful. And I always love a gin that can be paired with many different things, and this is one of those gins. So tonight I've enjoyed it every single way that I've had it, which has been 4 different ways tonight, and I have enjoyed it the most, I think, with that drop of water. So that's going to be me for going forward. Valley gin with a drop of water is absolutely delicious. So everybody, that is us for this evening. And we will be back with you next Monday night for another tasting. And I think that's all the announcements I have to make at the end. I always forget these ones, so I have to I should write it down somewhere, but I haven't. So Tony, once again, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for making this gin. We will have both the gins. We will have both of Ruin Distillery's gins, if Tony will allow us to have both of them.
Of course.
We have them on the website, so you can grab those, and please, as we always say, give Tony a week or so before you start spreading the word about the gin, just so then he can get the bottles in. Give him a little bit of grace. But as we always say, please, share with the local bottle store, share with your local bar, that this is one of those gins that they really need to have on the shelf. So, and that will certainly help Tony, because I imagine you've got a little bit of a volume to be able to get through.
Not too much. I mean, I did slow it down. As I say, I'm restricted in space as well. So
yes, exactly.
Storage space and having production backed up is but more have been produced. I mean, so I don't know if you know about Brewtown in Upper that you can buy there across in the bars, and there's a couple of liquor stores as well, that Super Liquor and Centre City Wines and Spirits in Wellington stock it as well. So for those that are local here, but ananyway, yes.
And then we will have it on Suggestions website, so that'll be fabulous.
Thank you very much for allowing me to come on and talk about our little passion here. So it's been excellent.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure, absolutely. So thank you, Tony, and hopefully we can have your other gin in our box sometime in the near future. That'd be fabulous.
Sure.
Awesome. All right. See you later, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.